you're looking for an engineer build you can play in Guild Wars 2 PvE that can burst mobs and survive by itself, or a roaming build that has great mobility for world versus world, or a PvP build that can effectively fill a role for its team, look no further. The Grenade Holosmith is not only meta for most of these game types, it's also a rewarding playstyle which can pump out damage while also sustaining well. If you want to work on gearing an engineer and want to experience all of the game modes without having to get multiple sets of gear, this is by far the best build you can play. It can be a bit difficult to play, but that's why I'm here to show you how it works and how I use it. So let's start out with the Holosmith Mechanics. As a Holo, you can enter the Photon Forge mode, which replaces your weapon skills with new ones. You will gain heat over time, and each skill you use, even the auto attack, will grant you heat. If your heat meter reaches full, you'll be ejected from the forge and take heavy damage while also losing access to your tool belt skills for a short time. The Holosmith traits will affect how your heat works, but for the purposes of this build, you will have 150 maximum heat. Your Forge 1 skill has a great range of AoE cleave and only adds a small amount of heat. Forge 2 Holo Leap gives a leap finisher and a decent amount of damage and swiftness. Forge 3 Corona Burst is a wide AoE that pulses twice, granting might to yourself and dealing good damage and vulnerability on both hits. Because Corona Burst hits more than once, but only requires one cast, you can fit the second pulse into other animations for burst combos. Photon Blitz is a hard-hitting medium-range projectile volley. It is one of your hardest hitting abilities. The Holographic Shockwave is a blast that will CC nearby enemies, but locks you in place and gives off a huge tell. And it gives you lots of heat, so generally it isn't worth to use it. Heat management is important to playing Holosmith because the higher your heat, the more benefits you get from your traits, but the more you risk overheating. When entering Forge, there's a 5-second cooldown on leaving Forge. You can get caught inside your Forge as you overheat. A few tips to not overheating are to not enter Forge if you have over half your heat, or only use your leap skill if you need it for that. Never use Holographic Shockwave if you're above half heat. The 1 and 2 skills are very low heat, so spam these very often. And the 3 and 4 are a bit more costly, but you can control how much heat you use from them. Photon Blitz gives heat per attack, so you can cancel the volley halfway by leaving Forge or dodging. Corona Burst pulses heat after the first cast, but the second pulse will still occur if you leave Forge after the first cast. This means you can cast Corona Burst, then leave Forge while the heat is gained, and even if your heat maxes out, you won't overheat if you aren't in Forge. So generally I like to use Corona Burst as my last skill in Forge because it gives me value on topping out my heat and might duration. The equipment I take is full Berserkers with durability runes. I take a Wanderer shield for a little bit more sustain, but full Berserker is fine. The durability rune acts as the defense to the otherwise aggressive build, but also gives boon duration, which in combination with the alchemy trait line gives you about 30% boon duration, which helps because this build gives out so many boons, especially might. Because engineers can have 2 weapon sets, but cannot swap between them in PvP or in combat, I use a sword shield in one set and a rifle in the other. You can decide which to use, but I think most prefer to use rifle in PvE and sword shield in World v World in PvP. I put a cleansing and vision sigil on both sets, but you could put force impact on your rifle if you were more concerned with endgame group content in PvE. Cleansing is nice because conditions in general are hard to get off in World vs World, and in PvE you won't be running any cleanse other than this. I go for Vision, which allows me to get 100% crit chance for 3 seconds every 10 seconds, and since going in and out of Forge counts as weapon swapping, you can stack all of your damaging skills at these moments. The food I take is the bowl of Orrian truffle and meat stew because dodging benefits this build quite a bit because of the explosive entrance, proccing whenever you dodge. But I can't afford energy sigils on this build as much as I would like to. The PvE version of the build has some options. I take explosives, alchemy, and Holosmith. If you like using grenades from afar, you'll really want the Grenadier trait, but if you're mainly in melee, it won't make much of a difference and you can take the Fury trait. Then take Explosive Temper for the ferocity buff that you get from landing explosives, and yes, your grenades each count as an explosive, so you can stack this buff up very quickly using grenades and Corona Burst. Your explosions will also give vulnerability, which will increase your damage more than normal because there is also vulnerability synergy in explosions. Then Big Boomer will give you extra damage and heal you over time when you land explosions. In Alchemy, there are tons of boons and elixir synergy. You'll passively get Condition Cleanse, Protection when disabled, and many other boons. HGH will give you might whenever you use an elixir and give all your elixirs lowered cooldowns and increased effects. Also, whenever you gain a boon, Compounding Chemicals will heal you, and each stack of a boon counts. So for example, Elixir B gives Fury, Resolution, Swiftness, and 7 stacks of Might. That's 7 boon applications, which means 10 applications of healing, so about 370 healing from casting the skill. Also, you'll be gaining tons of might from Holosmith traits and abilities. In Holosmith, I take Solar Focusing Lens, which gives extra damage when entering and leaving Forge. Eclipse, because this gives barrier per enemy hit by your Corona Burst, and each cast of Corona hits twice with a maximum of 5 targets, so you can get tons of barrier when fighting large groups of enemies. Then finally, I take Enhanced Capacity Storage Unit, which will allow you to hold 50 more heat before overheating, and you'll gain 2 might every second that you're above 100 heat. This is much more sustain from Compounding Chemicals and much more damage. Also in Holosmith, you have Heat Therapy, which gives you healing over time when your Forge heat cools off. It means in combination with Compounding Chemicals and Big Boomer, you have a lot of sustain on this build. I'll go over Sword Shield for the other game modes, but the rifle has a ranged auto attack and an immobilize and a knockback on overcharged shot. The damage comes from your Blunderbuss, which does more the closer you are, and Jump Shot. All of the tool belt skills and your grenade kit are ground targeted abilities, which means you need to aim many of your skills. It is really helpful to use the instant ground targeting setting with skill retargeting enabled. Normally, when you cast a skill, it takes some time to confirm the location and then it casts. This makes it hard to land ranged ground targeting abilities that are projectiles from afar. By enabling these settings, you can change the location where you aim between the time that you cast a skill and the game confirms its location. Essentially, you can leave your mouse cursor on the moving target while casting, and you'll be much more accurate with your aim. So for tool belt elixirs that you want to land on yourself, just leave the cursor slightly in front of you. For enemies, you want to land grenades on, so just leave your cursor on them. The Elixir B tool belt gives stability, and the Elixir U tool belt gives super speed, while the Utility B just gives a ton of boons, including swiftness, while Elixir U gives stability and quickness. Elixir H and its tool belt will give protection and just more elixir synergy. Because the build revolves around burst combos inside your vision sigil duration, there are times you have in between where you want to use your elixirs with cast times to buff your might and sustain. The grenade kit does good damage on the 2, 4, and 5 and tool belt skill. Just use the 3 if you really need more blinds and the 1 if you have nothing better to use. Grenade Barrage is your highest damaging ability on the build, so always try to fit it in your 100% crit chance to get all 6 of the grenades to crit for massive damage. I like to use it after I leave Forge because I'm usually at high heat and therefore high might stacks, or you can use it and then go into Forge while it's midair to get the buff on it. The Shrapnel Grenade is the next highest damage grenade, and the Poison Grenade is unblockable, which means it goes through projectile reflex. Prime Light Beam is a strong CC and a burst that leaves down a damaging field if you are above 50 heat when you use it. Essentially, you'll start out by placing the 2, 4, and 5 of the grenade kit down to get maximum stacks of the explosives ferocity buff, then immediately go into Forge and use Corona Burst and Photon Blitz with the Vision Sigil up. Then you can use your Forge auto attack or even the Holographic Shockwave to get your heat up faster. Once you're above 50 heat and are in between Corona Burst, Photon Blitz combos, you can use Prime Light Beam to fill the gap. When you're getting close to overheating, use one final Photon Blitz and then Corona Burst and immediately leave Forge, pop your Grenade Barrage, and Jump Shot with the 100% crit and your second pulse of Corona Burst for massive damage. Then Blunderbuss and use your grenades until your heat drops down to almost 50, then go back into Forge with your Vision Sigil and hit Corona and Photon Blitz. Fill in the gaps of your Forge Burst with elixirs and basically just repeat. So here's what the rotation will look like. So I'm going to give myself the Elixir B, Quickness, and then the Ferocity buff from the grenades. Go into Forge and immediately Corona into Photon. I'm going to give myself a little bit more heat so I can get my Might sooner. Use my Corona Burst off cooldown. I can give myself more elixirs for more Might. And I'll Photon Blitz. Maybe I'll do my Prime Light and then I will Corona and then immediately use my Burst once I leave the Forge there with the grenade toolkit, Grenade Barrage. I'm just gonna keep my Ferocity buff up. I'm gonna go back into Forge when I'm a little bit close to getting to that 50 heat mark, and then go back in and do my Corona Burst. I'm probably gonna overheat before I can do anything meaningful there, so I'm gonna give myself more elixirs to buff my Might, and I'm probably gonna precast my Grenade Barrage into my Forge here, so I'll get the crits on them, and then I'm just going to probably Corona Burst and then leave. So this is a Path of Fire legendary bounty, and I'm going to be for the most part soloing this. And one of the mechanics that it has from the instability is I have to be in melee range to actually hit the boss, or it'll just block my attacks. So it's not like I can play very safe and just use my grenades here to win this. I actually need to be very risky with my positioning to do damage. So yeah, this is going to be very dangerous. I need to use a lot of my sustain and movement around the boss, because one of the attacks that the boss does is like this beam in front of it, and then it has like an auto attack that's really quick. You can't really avoid that. So I'm going to take quite a bit of damage over the course of this fight. So here, yeah, there's another mob here as well. So yeah, I probably want to take that out first. And there's like these meteors that you have to constantly be moving to avoid. Yeah, don't get hit by the dual beam there. And you can see there's also like these circles that appear on the ground. You'll get stunned by those if you try to cross through them. And normally that's a pretty devastating mechanic, because you will get CC'd and then eat all of their attacks. But luckily this build has a lot of stability on it, which can actually come in my favor most of the time, right? So I have the stability from the Elixir B toss, and I have the stability from Elixir U utility. So that is kind of good for this encounter, but I'm not really used to the mechanic of this boss yet. So I'm not really doing that much DPS. I'm trying to survive right now. And another person shows up and they immediately go into the down state. You'll see this happen very often. You're trying to like solo a bounty and someone tries to help and they just kind of die, because these things are they're very difficult to kill. So I land my Prime Light Beam there. It doesn't really do too much because the boss is moving around a lot. And I'm not really able to min-max my rotation very well, because I'm still trying to survive and figure out what my kind of like how I'm going to react to the boss. So I avoid the meteors there, and I'm just throwing grenades waiting for an opening. I'm taking quite a bit of damage, so I have to be careful here, but at the same time there is a time limit on this boss, so I need to start attacking it eventually. And yeah, they do the beam in front of them, so I dodge to the left. And I don't have any stability for a little bit, so I'm trying to stay away from those blue circles. I give myself some boons here so I can, yeah, I gave out the stability so I didn't have to worry about that. I eat the meteor there, but it doesn't knock me down, so I don't eat successive meteors because of the stability. So it's really nice the amount of stability that's on this build. It kind of helps you to not get globaled, because sometimes when you're on like a very squishy build like this, I mean, there's a lot of sustain, but if you get CC'd, you can't really reach your sustain. So it's nice that you're able to control your character, because if you can control it, then you can sustain. So I get hit by the auto attack there again, which is not very nice. And there's like this other mechanic where I get like a target on me. I'm not really sure what that mechanic does, but it taxes me of quite a bit of my health, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, I'm not going to res the Necro because I know that I'll die to not being mobile while doing this boss. So normally I'd try to res someone if I could, but in this case I'd rather not wipe. So if they want to respawn, that's up to them. But yeah, I have stability here. Okay, so from the Elixir U, I'm able to get through there. And I'm doing quite a bit of damage because I just got the quickness from the Elixir U, so that's kind of nice. Like the Forge auto attack actually does insane damage because the aftercast is pretty much non-existent with quickness. So yeah, with quickness you want to use your Forge autos a lot. And I tried to do the grenade barrage and to swap into Forge there to get the vision sigil on my grenade barrage. I don't know if I got the timing right though. So Prime Light Beam there, and yeah, we're just doing the Forge autos. I have to heal up here. I'm gonna do my final Chrono Burst of that Forge. I eat the meteors, which is not very good. So the Reaper goes down again. I have to watch out for that. So using the grenades to get a little bit of distance is still pretty good, even though I can't stay ranged for a long time. It just helps me to reposition, and that little bit of time that I take to reposition allows me to get my sustain and survive. So you'll notice that my health is going up and down quite a bit. And the reason for that is because of the, all the big boomer, you've got the compounding chemicals, you've got the heat therapy. So you want to be on high heat a lot of the time because you'll get more healing. So yeah, here the boss has reached 50% HP. So we're not, the boss isn't really that close to dying, so I need to actually start DPSing a lot faster. And I'm getting a little bit more comfortable with this boss at this point, so I'm gonna optimize my DPS a little bit better, and probably gonna go into my grenade kit here. But still, I'm a little bit in panic mode because I'm realizing the timer, so I might be making not the best plays here. And I'm doing actually quite a bit of damage. So the Necro is tanking quite a bit for me now, which is pretty nice, but I still have to watch out for the meteors. And the Photon Blitz is going to help me out with getting quite a bit of damage there. It does like 11,000, so yeah, that's pretty good. So I'm at high heat, so I'm swapping to grenades. I have 25 might the entire time, so it's not like my damage is low by any means. It's just my damage uptime is very low because I'm trying to deal with taking so much pressure from the boss. It's not like this is a DPS issue, it's more of a utility issue, right? My Necro Pug there goes into Lich form. That's pretty nice, but I don't know if they're actually hitting because it's ranged most of the time. So yeah, they'd probably, if the Reaper wasn't there with me, I probably wouldn't have gotten this solo for sure, because they helped me out quite a bit just to get aggro. So I'm going to do one final Chrono Burst here, and if I had done anything else I probably would have overheated, so I dodged there. And dodging kind of does damage because Explosive Entrance will give you damage, so it was kind of nice because it allowed me to get damage but not overheat and still get my Chrono Burst in there eventually. So we got the boss to 25%, and yeah, I'm gonna need stability here. Oh, this is really bad because I'm getting meteored and I can't move out, but I still survive because when I get CC'd, the passive from Protection Injection actually gives me protection. So it's not like the successive meteors there are gonna kill me unless I get hit by too many of them. But yeah, 2 in a row I can survive because of Protection Injection. So yeah, there's still some passiveness that helps me to survive that even if I don't have stability. And we're at 20% now, and we've got 2 minutes left, so we're kind of on track because we were at 3 minutes when the boss was at 30%. But we gotta pick up the pace still because we don't want to fail here, and we're taking quite a bit of CCs. So There's going to be the meteor. I'm going to keep rotating around the boss so I don't get hit. The photon blitz is really important to land here, and the corona. Yep, I'm going to leave. This is a really good burst moment. I didn't use my grenade barrage there, which is a shame, but I have the stability from Elixir U. I'm going to need to get out of that meteor, and I'm going to go, yep, here's the big burst from the forge, but I'm stuck in these blue circles. I'm going to prime light beam, which is nice, but I eat the entire beam there, but I get the protection injection, right? It's a pretty low cooldown, so every time I get CC'd, it's pretty safe. So now we're at 1 minute left and 10% left on the boss, so we're on track. The Reaper is probably going to go down here again. I think they just respawned and came back, and now they're already dead, but we're at this point, I don't really need this boss, but we're going to get it for the Necro. They probably need this boss, so we're going to persevere and get them to kill. I missed a jump shot there, which is very unfortunate, but I land my Elixir H. My food runs out. I'm giving myself some might here and boons. The Photon Blitz lands. We're at 3% left and 30 seconds, so we're doing pretty good here. The Reaper is probably contributing quite a bit at this point, and I'm going to probably jump shot this. Nice 13k there, and we get the kill. So that was a pretty intense boss battle, but you can kind of see how it works now. In PvP, access your gear from this panel for free, and then you'll be taking the Berserker Amulet and the Divinity Runes, energy and cleansing on your sword shield. The combination of the Blast Shield trait and the Divinity Runes gives you a decent amount of health to survive with the Berserker Amulet. Take the Grenadier trait to more easily land your nades on moving targets. Take the Prismatic Converter trait because you want the condition cleanse for PvP. And take Zephyr because the super speed helps you to rotate much faster and cleanse some conditions. You want to stay at high heat levels so that when you leave Forge, your Prismatic Converter converts more conditions. You get more might, you get more heat therapy, and it's just all around better, but it can be risky. Take Elixir S for the stealth on the tool belt skill, for playmaking and escaping, and the invulnerability is your get out of jail free card or for making stomps or reses very safely. You can take the Prime Light Beam or you can take Crate. I like Prime Light Beam in team fights and Crate in 1v1s. You can decide which one you prefer. Make sure that you have instant ground targeting and skill retargeting, because with the Crate, you can cast it in one area and then retarget it somewhere else and get a stun on someone around a wall or on someone who's not expecting you to hit them with it. After Crate lands, it will put down a healing field which you can blast or leap through with your Holo 2 and 5 or Shield 4 and Sword 3. After a few seconds, the healing field goes away, but the smoke field remains, which can be used to escape with combo finishers. Your Sword 3 does a good amount of damage and gives you more quickness the higher your heat level is. Sword 2 does more damage the more heat you have, which will send out more projectiles and can do quite a bit of burst damage, which is like a shotgun effect. So you want to be close to the target and that'll maximize the amount of hits that you get. Positioning is very important to survive in between your Holo Forge sequences. Using free camera and the about face keybind is very important to aiming your nades while also moving as quickly as possible. Left mouse click to unlock your camera and then about face to move backwards while facing the way you want to kite from, and then right click to move forwards. So combining this, you can use your grenades and you can easily kite back and forth and allow you to get a lot of damage on enemies while also maintaining a safe distance from them. You can do some good combos with Shield 4, which has two parts. So the first part is a projectile reflect, and then the second part is a knockback, which you can then combo and land your burst damage into very quickly, because the second part has kind of like no animation. You can use it kind of like instantly. So you can set up bursts without the enemy being able to predict them. Your shield 5 is a very good stun whenever enemies hit you in melee, and you can also cast it, which will daze enemies, and it does quite a bit of damage too when it goes out and then back in. While in Forge, you want to use Corona Burst as often as you can because it heals you from Alchemy Boon application and gives Vuln for more damage. Reposition with Hollow Leap by detargeting it and use Photon Blitz from a safe distance, which does quite a bit of damage. You can also choose to stack your big damage in one animation by precasting Corona Burst and then using the damage that you get while that second Corona Burst is precasted. But then it allows your enemy to dodge all of your damage with one dodge. So you can choose to stack it, or you can stagger your animations, which will make it less predictable and require more dodges to avoid all of your damage. So you can secure kills more quickly against players who are playing around you. So this is a ranked PvP match as the Grenade Holosmith. Usually I play the role of a roamer looking around for kills wherever I can go, but since I have a support this match, I can play more teamfight oriented. So I immediately crate to get as much pressure on the enemy team as possible, because the best defense is a good offense. So pressuring them like that is getting them off my team. And now I'm getting chased by a Weaver, so I'm using the Hollow Leap to reposition, but I still need to get on the target and focus their Scourge or their support really in this fight, because the Weaver isn't really providing too much other than just pressuring me. So the Guardian uses their Elite, which is an invuln, so that means they're kind of out of cooldowns here. I land quite a bit of damage on them, and I'm going to chase them because they're not supporting their team if I can get the kill, so that's a really important kill to get on their support. But I can't go into the Forge because I'm kind of high heat, so I'm waiting just to get my heat lowered. And so now I'm going to start attacking the support is probably the best target here, but their Weaver is kind of just standing on node and taking quite a bit of damage just passively from their positioning, so they're kind of low. So I'm going to change target to the Weaver and land some grenades on them. They use their magnetic aura, which is a reflect, so I use the unblockable poison grenades and just stand still while I'm using my Photon Blitz, which is really important because when they're moving around me like that, it will sometimes cancel your Photon Blitz or any kind of attack like that where it channels. So letting go of the mouse like that will just make your character automatically follow them and keep using it on them. So now we've got the kill on the Weaver, which doesn't really help us progress this team fight. So I've kind of just let their support and their Scourge reset. So I'm like, well, I kind of want to go far now because this is going to take too long and we've already got the node. But I left my support by themselves and far didn't need me anyways. So I made a misrotation here. I actually over-rotated when I should have stayed at mid and helped pressure them so that our Ellie could stay on the node and we would hold the node. So a bit of a mistake by me, but I do see that their Mesmer is quite low here, so we can get a kill on that. And as long as we just stall the decap on mid, it's kind of okay. But our Ellie dies, so it's not the best. So now I need to get out of here. I don't get the super speed because I canceled my Hollow Leap early. So I just use line of sight here to prevent the Scourge from free casting on me. Since our Ellie is dead, I'm kind of just waiting for them to respawn, so I don't want to do anything too drastic, and we kind of have sides. Get a really good knock there, which might allow me to get the decap on mid, because their Scourge is now below, and he's probably not going to come back to mid, or if he does, it's going to take a while. So now their support is trying to hold the node against me, and if I'm in a 1v1 versus a support, I can just free cast on them like this, and I try to use my the crate to finish them off, but they use their Elite, so they're quite out of cooldowns. We have the Skyhammer to get the decap anyways, so I don't want to stay here to try to full cap that because that's just a waste of my time. And their Weaver is trying to contest the node here, which is, I mean, I can sort of 1v1 as a Hollow, but this isn't a good 1v1 for me for sure. So my support comes in with their support, and now this is actually a good matchup because I am a much more damaging kind of like 2v2 partner than a Weaver is. At least a Fire Weaver, who is a little bit more selfish. So instead of going for the Weaver, I'm going to go for their support. I can use my quickness there with the auto attack, and you can just see how much damage I do with the auto attacks. They're so fast and they're so easy to land because they're so wide AoE and long range. So yeah, we get the kill on their support, and I'm going to chase the Weaver here. I land a really good shield 4 into my shrapnel grenade, and that allows me to finish them off. So now we've got mid, and I'm going to try to go far. It looks like we've already got the kill at far. So I'm actually going to stay at mid because I don't want their Scourge, who can easily do the same thing that I did to their support, to my support. They actually get a transfusion here, but I cleave it out really fast before the support can land their res utility. And I'm blocking unblockable wells here, kind of a waste of my utility there. But now we're in like a 4v2, which is maybe a little bit of an over rotation from our team because we don't need all of them here because we already have the node and we're doing fine in the 2v2. So I'm just going to stay here because I don't want to play sides. I'm doing really well in the team fights with my support. So I'm just going to stay here and hope that the rest of my teammates who are more duelist oriented, like the Ranger or the Core Necro, will actually play for the nodes. So the Mirage here, and also their duelist is a Mirage, right? So Mirage is a pretty good matchup against Holos, especially the more recent Holo, which doesn't have access to resistance anymore. So yeah, I do want to stay with my support here, who will give me a lot of Condi Cleanse. So they're standing on node versus the Scourge, and I see that their support or something is coming back to mid, so I want to take this 2v2 on our node, which is very valuable for us because we own the node and we're keeping their team fight here. But I think that's their Weaver shows up for now, so we're going to be in a 2v3. I put down my crate immediately to pressure them off my Ellie, and they kite off the node, which is good. And I'm just going to try to do my best defense, which is an offense, by pressuring them and CCing them. So we're both standing on the node at the moment, which we don't really need to do. I could get off the node if the Ellie wants to, but in reality, the Ellie should get off and let me stand on the node for now because I'm a little bit healthier. So they have to get off, and now that they can't support me because they were too pressured, I have to get off the node. But our team actually stands on the node, and we get the Skyhammer, which allows us to play very aggressively. We almost get their Scourge down, and I'm trying to chase, but I am very low, so I'm playing very cautiously. I go into my grenade kit, and they have their barrier, so we can't secure that kill yet. I'm going to push back into mid, and yeah, they're getting supported by the Guardian. I'm playing safe with the grenades because we already gave up the decap, and yeah, we're going to... Oh, our Ellie jumps on the node to prevent the full cap, which is good. So I go in because they place a lot of damage on the node, try to CC them in it, but yeah, it's not very long lasting because we're still outnumbered. So I get out of there and use my heal skill, but it doesn't put me to full, and my Ellie is kind of running away from me rather than supporting me and staying with me. So I just leave to try to, because we're not really holding home node even though no one's there. So yeah, our Ranger goes there finally, and now I can go back into mid because people are doing their jobs. So I go into mid, it's Scourge and Weaver. It's kind of a waste of time now, so I'm just creating momentum around the map by moving, making it hard for them to react to my rotations because they want to match me, but I move faster than them. So I jump on their support here, and they're pretty low in cooldown, so yeah, they use their elite skill, so now I know that they're an easy kill now. I land my sword 3, and I'm just going to spam grenades on them because it's going to be the most reliable damage, because if they use Aegis, then my grenades will break the Aegis and still do damage. But I see their Weaver, who keeps getting caught in team fights, is kind of low because they've taken a lot of damage, and I'm going to try to secure this kill because if the support chases me, then they're not supporting their team on the node, the objective. So I create this to secure the kill, and yeah, we're gonna get the kill. I think they're pretty low. Yeah, so we get the kill here. I'm gonna cleave it out, and the reason why I want to cleave this out and not bleed it is because yeah, we're right next to their spawn, so as you can see, there's a lot of potential for me to get +1. They have their support and a soul beast here, so I'm just trying to survive. I need to go into forge here maybe. No, okay, I make it out, using my Forge 2 to get rid of those pesky, I've got chill on me again. I've got to remove that with Forge 2. And I use stealth here because I'm not going to get the decap, so I'm just waiting for my Ellie to arrive. They're healing me, which is really good. And I'm just trying to survive. I don't want to die trying to get the decap there. So now we're going to go for the buff, or the Skyhammer, and just going to throw some grenades on the node, or use my Forge if I can, but they put a lot of AoE on the node, so I want to get off the node and use my grenades until it's a little bit safer to do so. So I'm throwing my grenades out, and their Soul Beast is very low, or even their Weaver I think is very low. I get a really good Chrono Burst, and I Photon Blitz, which pierces through all of them, and then I'm going to S-Stomp because they have a lot of Scourge res potential and stuff like that. So yeah, getting the S-Stomp on one of them is really good, but my entire team kind of just folds to their pressure because we don't have a lot of support still. So I give stealth to my Tempest, and we're going to try to just leave. I mean, they're going to get the Skyhammer maybe, so I'm just going to decap mid, which is going to stall for more time. And actually, the Ellie gets back on the node to stall them even further. So it's giving us more time to stall. So now the Ellie is dead, so I'm going to go in and try to stall even further, which is a benefit to us because we own more nodes than them. So I land quite a bit of damage with my grenades on their support, and their Mesmer is here too, which is pretty easy to bully in a team fight. So I Elixir S to res my Ellie with my, I think it's the, is it the Necro? Yeah, the core Necro is here with me, so they have the blood magic resing ability too. And I'm landing so much damage from my grenades. And yeah, my team is still kind of low in these fights because they have a Scourge and we don't. So yeah, it's kind of hard. We're gonna land the Crate there, which doesn't really do too much because it just gets cleaved out by all the team fight AoE. So yeah, Crate is better in like 1v1s, and Prime Light Beam is better in team fights. But yeah, we're gonna just kind of kite out and use Hollow Forge Leap here to get some super speed, and they're gonna get the Skyhammer, so there's really no point in us capping any nodes, but I'm just sort of resetting and trying to create momentum elsewhere. I see that they actually leave their Mesmer on the Skyhammer, but yeah, their Weaver stays, so I'm gonna give up the Skyhammer even more, which allows them to decap nodes. But since we've stalled it that much, we've forced them to overcommit to it, and now we've reset the map basically because they don't really own any nodes, and now we can just go for kills. So we're gonna try to focus this Scourge when they're by themselves, but I'm getting pressured by the, yeah, there's a lot of condies on me from this Mirage. So I'm gonna leave, go to far, and it looks like there's a down already from our Guardian, so I can help to cleave this out. I land a really good Sword 3. And I'm going to grenade them to secure the kill here. I'm pretty high on heat, so I can't cleave with the Forge. So yeah, I use the poison grenades, which is super good for your downstate cleaving. And the Weaver's going to show up. But the Mirage has taken so much damage from trying to res there that they're low, they're going to be killed. And I'm just using my Forge autos just to finish off whatever I can. Getting reflected on there, but I can use my Shield 4 into Sword 3 to secure the kill. And from there, the game is pretty much over. So we've got home, our support, and a Necro are there, so they're going to hold that. And then our Guardian, which is maybe not a duelist, and they're probably one of the squishier classes, is holding far, but we only need home to win. So they've pretty much got that, and we're going to win this game. So that's pretty much how you want to think of the Holosmith in ranks. In World vs. World, you can either use the rifle for more large-scale content or the sword shield for a smaller scale. I generally like to use the sword shield, but you can choose whatever you want. You want to be taking the Grenadier trait and all the other stuff that comes with the PvP build, basically. The one thing that you can kind of change is you can take Big Boomer, or you can take Flashbang, because in PvP I don't really like the Flashbang because it's 1 second, like 1.5 seconds in PvP. It's not really that long, so in World vs. World, dueling and like 1v1 small scale, Flashbang can be really good. so I take that, but because I don't have the energy sigil, I don't get as much of the explosive entrances, so I don't get as much blind anyways. So I go with Big Boomer, and your elite choices can range from the Mortar Kit, which can give you the really long range, like they just have really long range as you can see, and you can use that in like Zerg combat. I personally like to use Prime Light Beam because it's a short cooldown and can have a large effect in more situations that happen during roaming situations, whereas Supply Crate is like better for fighting on node, which is more PvP oriented. Elixir U is also stronger in World vs. World because it gives longer durations on the stability. So you don't need to save the Elixir U to stun break, you can just have the stability, which allows you to play more aggressively. So that is pretty much the build. If you want to see more roaming applications of this build, then stick around for the montage afterwards. So if you like this kind of content, then give it a like and subscribe and share the video. But if you'd like to help me more directly, you can do so by checking the links below, and I would greatly appreciate it if you became a patron or supported me more directly. But that is all for now, so check out the clips, and I will see you guys next time.